Mr. Eckstein. Deece
Oh my goodness.
Eckstein is the Intergovernmental Relations Coordinator for Travis County, and we'll be speaking about redistricting.
Thank you very much. By way of background, I do not have as nice a pedigree as David Richards, or David Richardson for that matter, but have been, I'm a graduate of UT Law School. I'm what we call a non-practicing alumni of UT Law School, and I've been working in politics and public service for well over 25 years now. I've had the privilege of working at various times with all the people in this room, so I feel very lucky to be here tonight and honored by your invitation, and very glad you are putting on this spectacle here. What I probably would like to do is talk a little bit more about process, particularly at the local level, and just give you a few insights about what's going on here with Travis County. As you correctly pointed out, not only do we have the challenge of drawing congressional, legislative, that is both State House and State Senate and State Board of Education, which are all tasked to the legislature, but Travis County itself, for instance, will have to redraw its lines for its county commissioner precincts and for its justice of the peace and constable precincts. So one of my responsibilities in Travis County now is I'm sort of managing the process by which that is happening. 2 weeks ago, the Commissioners Court approved the hiring of a consultant firm who will work with the Commissioners Court to redraw the county commissioner precincts here. So while all this stuff is going on at the state level, the counties and the school districts and other local government entities that operate on any kind of single-member principles are all having to redraw their lines as required by the law regarding single members. A couple comments. You mentioned, David, this interest in bypassing the Department of Justice and seeking the jurisdiction of the D.C. District Court. Or D.C. Circuit Court. There is actually a bill, House Bill 1975, by Representative Phil King of Weatherford to direct the Secretary of State to do that. I believe that Luis probably would agree that that bill's probably not moving anywhere as it should.
But it doesn't matter, they can do it.
But they can do it anyway, I suppose. One of the reasons why, here's a little bit of trivia. David mentioned the bugaboo of the Obama Department of Justice getting a chance to pre-clear things. For what it's worth, this is the first time that a Democratic president has been in place in terms of having appointed an Attorney General, having the Justice Department work for a Democratic president since the Voting Rights Act was passed. So if Democrats are going to run amok and ignore the Voting Rights Act, this is our chance to do it. David mentioned that one of the stresses that we have as a practical matter in trying to draw these maps is that the maps are really supposed to take effect next year. Well, the filing period for people wishing to run for office in next November 2012's election will begin sometime in early December of this year. So when we talk about, we really have this sort of long horizon of we're trying to draw maps to create districts that will be the districts in place for next year's elections, and the filing process begins. So here at Travis County, as with the legislature, our goal is to draw the maps, get them to the Department of Justice, and get them pre-cleared and approved in time. Whether that'll happen, as David suggested, is questionable at best. The thing we're doing at Travis County is we've just hired our consultant. Their timetable calls for them to produce the first set of maps for our county commissioner and Justice of the Peace and Constable precincts in June. Our optimistic timing, the reason we're timing it that way is that we optimistically hope that the House and Senate will have agreed on the congressional, state board, and legislative House and Senate maps. And one of the other requirements in terms of the practical mechanics of this is that as much as possible districts have to sort of match up in their boundaries. So what we don't want to do is, for instance, have a House district that ends on San Jacinto Street on the other side of the Capitol building, and then a school board district that ends on Lavaca Street here, and then a state senatorial district that ends on Guadalupe Street over there, and then a State Board of Education district that ends on Red River Street, because you'd have to be drawing these precincts. Each of those has to have a separate precinct. So one of the duties that actually our consultant will have to do is hopefully reconcile all the maps so that we can create election precincts that make sense. So mechanically, that's the process that's going to be going on. It is going on now at the legislature. As we said, the House of Representatives is debating the House's redistricting map. I think we have state board map, but I don't know if we have a House map up here. But they are literally debating that as we speak. There was an amendment put on earlier tonight to move a couple things around in Travis County, a couple precincts around Travis County that was acceptable. As David said, they are now working on the principle of if everybody in Travis County can agree to a map, then those legislators can draw their own map. Now, whether there are other forces out there beyond the 6 legislators and for that matter the people of Travis County that want to draw the map in different ways, I'll give a practical example. The map that the House is now looking at and that was agreed upon by our legislators has 1 Republican district and 5 Democratic districts, as is the current composition of the Travis County Legislative Delegation. We have Representative Paul Workman, newly elected from Southwest Travis County, as a Republican, and then the other 5 members of the delegation are all Democrats. This map now would essentially respect those districts and probably be relatively safe for all those representatives. There may be people out there somewhere who think, well, now wait, Travis County ought to be able to sustain 2 Republican districts. Or alternatively, well, Travis County ought to be all Democratic. And they may want to draw maps differently than what the members of the thing agreed on. And that's all part of the hurly-burly of this process that David is describing to you. So that's going to be, that's just going to be an interesting process to watch. What we're hoping, again, from the perspective of Travis County, is that we'll have some idea of what the congressional maps, the House and Senate maps, the State Board of Education maps will look like by June. Our consultant then will propose maps for the county commissioner precincts, and we will have public comment, the opportunity for people to come testify, come look at the maps, come ask questions, suggest moving this here, there, that sort of thing, with the goal of having the Commissioners Court adopt a final map in early August, and so that we can prepare the submission and get it to the Department of Justice. So locally for you, what it's going to look like is pay attention to your news stories. You'll be able to see, probably after tomorrow, you'll be able to see House map. By the way, there's an excellent access if you go to the Texas Legislative Council's website, which I think is Legis, L-E-G-I-S, isn't it?
We actually have handouts.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Okay. So if you go to their website, you actually can look at maps, and you can pull up the plan that so-and-so put out, the plan that MALDEF put out, the plan that NAACP put out, and look at the various maps and zoom in on details and actually get down to street level details. So to the extent you're interested in the topic and want to just say, oh, what's going to happen to me, there's resources for doing that. As David said, we've gone a long way from the time when you just get out a San Antonio City street map and start figuring out how to divide up districts. That's really all I have. I'll be happy to participate in the give and take with everybody after this.